Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to evening devotion. Kind of funny, but of course, I'm sure everybody saw. It's been out for a little while now that there was supposed to be a ceasefire yesterday between Iran and Israel, and my wife had mentioned, "Yeah, this was there a ceasefire." I said, "Yeah, it won't happen. It'll get violated. Got violated. It happens every time. Um, you don't end up in a ceasefire where both parties don't agree because they said, well, they both agreed to a ceasefire. They didn't. Iran is at the point now where they don't care. They don't want a ceasefire. They don't want no agreement. They're going to do as much damage as they can while they have the ability, until they no longer have the ability. So whatever you see, just keep watching. It's still going to carry on until its ultimate conclusion. But don't be surprised at what you see. This stuff never goes the way people want it until it finally kind of ruminates out. It usually ends up with one or the other getting beat up pretty good. And my guess is that's going to be Iran because they've already taken a pretty good beating and they're going to keep going. They don't have hardly anything left. So keep watching, guys. Again, more people. I shared the Instagram reel from that Stanley sent me. More people are starting to catch on. This looks like Daniel Lee. And again, the implications of that are very huge. So if you haven't watched that video I filmed on Sunday, this last Sunday, go watch that. And I have a bunch of other videos on the same subject. I've been watching this and talking about this Daniel 8 thing for years now, and it's not surprising that it happened. I was watching for this literal interaction, and here it is. So no surprises here. Tonight we're going to be reading out of Daniel 3:16, 17, and 18. I think this is the first 3 verses for a devotion. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said, Be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods. These men spoke with great boldness, stood at their ground. So let's start in verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. I don't need to answer you. What do I need to say to you? If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. They are clear in their faith and clear in their standing. No thanks. Not going to happen. You've crossed a line. I'm not going to abide by that. You everything that you want us to do, that's fine. We're obeying the powers of the land, the law of the land, the powers that be. When you step into our faith, no, not happening. All right, so let's go up and get some context. And of course, we know this story. This is a very well-known story. We'll start at verse 10. There'll be a lot of verses here. You, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, so it literally was a symphony of music, in symphony with all kinds of music, shall fall down and worship the gold image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Now, the furnaces back then were used for a great many things, but they were big. It was like a dome shape, kind of like an igloo, but it was a dome shape. It had a chimney out the top so it could pull fire through and create basically a vortex. If you ever done a Dakota fire hole when camping, same concept. It pulls air through the door and shoots it out the top, and it creates, or if you started your grill with one of those little chimney things, it pulls the air through because once the air starts going through the chimney, it creates a draft. And it creates a very, very hot fire. When I get an oak tree, well, back when we were outside a lot during the winters, we would cut down blackjack oak trees. They're notorious for the cores rotting out. And so we'd get hollow ones. We'd save the hollow logs whole. When we have a campfire, we'd put some sticks down, set one on there so air could get under it, and then throw leaves and stuff in the hole and light them, and the chimney effect, it would suck the air through. And that log would burn for hours like that, just one log, because the air was pulling through, and it'd get red hot on the inside. And it would be blowing fire out. We tried stacking 3 of them up one time. It really made a fire. So this is the concept of this furnace. You're not just going to start a fire and that be it. This is a furnace designed to create intense heat. And these furnaces, according to some of the historical documents we have, could possibly go from anywhere to 1,000 to 6,000 degrees. That's a lot of heat. That's so hot you can't even get close to it. So they're reminding the king of this. Hey, you remember how you said this, king? Well, guess what? Verse 12, there are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up. So these guys are stabbing him in the back. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke to them, saying, is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up? And of course, he already knew this. Now, if you are ready, at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who would deliver you from my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. See, he already knew. He knew quite clearly who they served. The Jews were there in exile at that time. He knew who they served. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. So if the average furnace, and the average furnace will run 500-600 degrees, something like that, 700-800 maybe, depending on what they're doing in there. So if you do it 7 times, you get up around 6,000 degrees. So this is a very, very hot furnace. We don't know exactly how hot it was, but it was pretty darn hot. Now, it does give us an indicator of how hot it was. And he commanded certain mighty men, verse 20, of valor, who were in his army, to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. So these would be big guys, big, strong guys. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace is exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So the guys that went to throw them in the furnace, so they'd have to walk them forward. Well, they tied them up, so they had to carry them, pick them up, and chuck them in there. The fire was so strong. It was so powerful coming out of the front of this furnace that they were throwing them into the door of it. Couldn't get out the chimney. There was not enough room. It was super heated fire. That it killed them. That it burned them up. That's a hot fire. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Now here is the amazing and even scary part, because it has big implications. Nebuchadnezzar knew more than we know, knew more than we realize. Verse 24. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? So if you know anything about fire, especially if it's in an enclosed container or a dome, basically, with a chimney on top, What'll happen is that when you heat that up, and they usually put the fire on the outside, when you heat that up, the fire will go up the walls. It won't hardly cover the middle, but it'll go up the walls and out the chimney. And what you'll have is a big pocket of heat in the middle with fire surrounding it. So it's funny because when you pull this off, you end up with a clear view inside the furnace. So it's like looking through a window. You could literally see what was going on in there. Now, normal fire, you wouldn't, because the fire would be blocking it. The yellow and the orange and all that. It's got too many layers in it that you can't see through it. But in this particular case, because of the environment they created this fire in, and I've done this before. I've worked with this before when I was a blacksmith's apprentice. You could see very clearly through the fire. So he could see what's going on in there. Do we not cast 3 men? They answered and said to the king, True, O king. Look, he answered, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. How did he know what Jesus looked like? That's my question. The 4th is like the Son of God. How did he know about Christ? How long ago was this? 3,000 years ago? 3,500 years ago? 4,000, something like that? I forget how far back it goes. How did he know? See, those people back there knew more than we realize. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. He was hoping that 4th person would come out too, but didn't. And the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair on their head was not singed, nor was their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. So interesting thing about the smell of fire. So it's not the smell of smoke, that's different. Smoke is the after effect of fire. The smoke would have been going out the chimney. But if you have something that gets near or close to just fire, like in the core of the heat, it has a particular smell to it. It's not like smoke, it's different. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel, notice it's capitalized, because that was Jesus, and delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they have frustrated the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own. Therefore I make a decree, that any people, nation, or language who speaks anything amiss, any people at all who speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. And then he blessed them richly and promoted them. Powerful story. Powerful story of faith, but a powerful story of admonition. He saw Jesus Christ standing in the furnace and knew who he was. See, that stands out to me. But it should be no surprise. Jesus showed himself to a lot of people back in the Old Testament. The narrative of the manly courage and marvelous deliverance of the 3 holy children, or rather champions, is well calculated to excite in the midst of believers' firmness and steadfastness in upholding the truth in the teeth of tyranny and in the very jaws of death. This happened just a few years ago during COVID. A great many people are still purebloods. They did not take any of that stuff. And funny enough, there have been bans against that stuff nowadays, in case y'all hadn't seen it. They kind of slid it under the radar, but they put bans on all this stuff. And these companies have come forward and said, yeah, we already knew there was problems. So all of us that had our videos deleted by YouTube and other platforms, had our content taken down, were talked bad about and lied to and beat down and persecuted, we were all right in what we were telling everybody, because we knew it and saw it in the beginning. And they won't ever admit that. And our videos won't ever get put back up. I had quite a few taken down. But what we were saying was right. So we've been through this. Let young Christians especially learn from their example, both in matters of faith and religion, and matters of uprightness in business, never to sacrifice their consciences. Also, don't sacrifice your integrity, which he says in the next sentence. Don't sacrifice your honor. Lose all rather than lose your integrity. The Bible makes it known that integrity is key in the Christian walk. And when all else is gone, still hold fast a clear conscience as the rarest jewel which can adorn the bosom of a mortal. You know, of all the things evil wants, of all the riches it desires, of all the glory it's designed to want to go after, it wants your integrity and your honor. And when you take everything else away from somebody and all they have left is their integrity and honor, those are the richest jewels. And when they can't get them, it takes all their power away. Be not guided by the will o' the wisp of policy, which is what they do today, everywhere, including the military. They cry integrity, integrity, but there is none. But by the pole star of divine authority. Follow the right at all hazards. Do the right thing at all times, even if it means you're going to be the one that's going to suffer for it, which happens quite often. When you see no present advantage, walk by faith and not by sight. Do God the honor to trust him when it comes to matters of loss for the sake of principle. You know, if the Lord says, hey, close your eyes and walk straight forward. I trust you, Lord. Close your eyes and walk straight forward. That's what's referred to as a leap of faith. See whether he will be your debtor. See if he doth not even in this life prove his word that godliness with contentment is great gain, and that is the truth. And that they who seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness shall have all these things added unto them. Should it happen that in the providence of God, you are a loser by conscience, you shall find that if the Lord pays you not back in the silver of earthly prosperity, he will discharge his promise in the gold of spiritual joy. You know what the most valuable thing you can give is your time. You know what the most valuable thing you can have is? Joy in bad times. A spiritual stance that's higher than others. Because your spiritual faith, your strength spiritually will lead others to that joy as well. It's the most valuable thing there is. Remember that a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of that which he possesseth. To wear a guileless spirit, to have a heart void of offense, to have the favor and smile of God is greater riches than the mines of Ophir could yield, or the traffic of Tyre could win. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and inward contention therewith. So the herbs you can get on the ground. The ox, the implication here is stealing the ox. That's where the inward contention comes from. I'm fighting for them. I stole this, or I took this by suing somebody or something like that. That's what that's referring to. An ounce of heart's ease is worth a ton of gold. There are many a rich person today. Not all. Some of them are still chasing their dream. They'll never get to it. They got all the money in the world and it's still not good enough. But there are many a rich person over the generations and even now that if you ask them and say, would you trade this for anything? And they would say, yeah, I trade it for happiness, true happiness. Well, the money does great things and I can enjoy a lot of things, but I'm not really happy. I'd rather have less money and be happy than have all this money. And the sad truth of that is that when they do that, when they say that, they still keep chasing the money. Because they don't know anything else. They don't have anything guiding them the right way. And their fear of not having anything overwhelms them, and so they keep going after that money. How much money do you need to be happy? You ask anybody that's won the lottery, and 99.9% of them will tell you it's the worst thing that ever happened to me. Oh, I can go do what I want and buy what I want, but I'm not happy. I remember seeing an interview with some people, and one couple really stood out. And their kids were grown, went on to do their thing. And they were playing the lottery and they won $145 million jackpot. And they said that they had a lawyer go get it. And they said within a week, within 10 days, they started getting calls and emails and stuff on social media, people contacting them, people they never even heard of, saying that they were family members, long lost family members, asking for money. They said it got so bad, and they're by themselves. They said it got so bad, we actually paid to change our names and all our information, new social security numbers and everything, and bought a big place in a state they didn't tell nobody of, out in the middle of nowhere, where they were, I think they said they were like 30, 35 miles from the nearest town, out in the middle of nowhere, just to have some peace. And so the interviewer asked him, so do you regret winning the money? And they said, our life would have been better without it. And that's the case for a lot of people. They win that and realize that didn't make me happy at all. So money isn't always a good thing. Less is more. Slow is fast. Well, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, as the snipers say. You don't necessarily have to have everything to be content with where you are. And this is one of the lessons the Bible teaches about being content with what we have. If you're content with what you have here, you'll be more than content when you get up there. But there are a lot of people calling themselves Christians that are just really set on, I need to make sure I'm as rich as possible when I get to heaven. Okay, you're thinking carnally. I kid you not, I met somebody way back in the beginning of this ministry. I met him online. I met somebody that they said they actually had designs drawn up for their house in heaven. And I said, you do know that's not an actual house, right? It's just your new body. Right now we live in tents. There we'll have a mansion. That's the new body. And he argued. He spent a lot of money on those plans. He had them drawn out, color and everything, layout. And then I met a lot of them that fantasize about grilling on their porch and everybody's invited over. And that's a great sentiment. It's a nice thing to think about. That's not the reality. It's much more than that. It's much more than a house. It's much more than a deck or a grill. It's much more than hanging out. It's so much more. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego knew the chances were pretty high. They were going to lose everything. And they stood their ground because they knew deep down, if I lose everything, I'll have the Lord. So it doesn't matter if I lose everything, because I'll get everything twice over when I stand with him. And what happened? They stood in their faith. What happened? The Lord blessed them triple. And then they got to go to heaven. The Lord blessed them there again. So in lieu of losing everything we have, hold on to faith. Don't turn away. Stay strong and walk that path. And if it means you lose here, that's okay. The Lord will restore the lost years. The Lord will bring all of it back, double, triple. And I'll tell you this, and I know this beyond any doubt. When we do finally become changed and stand in heaven, none of this stuff's going to matter. No physical things will matter to us. It'll be irrelevant. Because we will be standing in the glory of the Lord, and that surpasses everything we can imagine. So all this physical stuff, it's irrelevant. It won't even matter to us. This life that we live and all its problems won't matter to us, because we will see Jesus Christ as he is, and we will be like him and stand with him in glory. See the Father on his throne. See the glory of the Lord in full effect, and feel that pure love in its fullest force. What a day. What a day. So while we're here, enjoy this life. Enjoy the things the Lord has provided. There's no reason why we can't enjoy these things. He gave them to us to be enjoyed. The Bible literally says that. Enjoy them Don't go into excess. Don't get too far into it, but enjoy them, and we go on to glory. But no matter what, walk in faith. No matter what, walk in faith. Because the people that get rich and have all kinds of money are never satisfied. And they always have to up the ante. Whereas people that don't have very much are perfectly happy getting together on a Saturday or a Sunday and having dinner. And that's the highlight of their week. Just to fellowship with brethren and family. Just to enjoy a nice meal. Simple things. So there's something to be said with not being rich, but being just be comfortable. Not too much, not too little. Like the psalm says, don't give me too much, but don't give me too little either. Just give me what I need, and I'll be happy and content with that. And that's how we should be. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego knew that. You know what? If it costs us our lives, that's okay. I'm not losing my integrity. I'm not losing my faith. I'm not giving in on this. I trust my Lord over everything. And what did the Lord do? They got to stand in the fiery furnace with Christ himself. And then they came out and were promoted and very blessed. Amazing. I love you all very much. I bless you all in Jesus' name. I'll see you in the next video.